It's officially June 2024, and it's very exciting for Nintendo fans because we actually know ahead of time that there is a confirmed Nintendo Direct that will be taking place this month. This will be our first mainline first-party communication from Nintendo of the year, which is hard to believe, but of course we are in that transitional year when it comes to hardware, as Nintendo has announced that they will be talking about their successor to the Switch by the end of fiscal year 2024, which actually ends March 2025. But in this video, I want to round up a lot of the different leaks and rumors online that are going around, suggesting there's some games we should be able to somewhat safely set our expectations towards seeing at this event. Then we're going to talk about some predictions towards the end of the video that I think are still likely candidates to potentially show up. And we will first briefly talk about the timing on when we might be able to expect this Direct to drop, because it's legitimately at any time. We'll probably get a day or two heads up announcement from Nintendo in terms of when they will be going live with this presentation, but there's a lot to unpack in this video. Before we do all of that, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And I want to first quickly tackle the timing conversation, because if you look at history, Nintendo has historically aligned with E3 for their Nintendo Direct presentation. We now know that E3 is no longer a thing and won't be coming back for the foreseeable future, so Nintendo really doesn't have any time pressure to put out their event at a select date that is aligned with the ESA like they had to do in the past. So that said, in years where they are not aligned with E3, like most recently last year, just holding their own June presentation, it actually came later in the month. It was the 21st to be exact. Now, Wednesday is the most likely day that a Nintendo Direct takes place if you look at history overall, and I do think that Wednesday has a high probability for this time around. So that would leave us June 5th as a potential date, which I am not expecting that one personally, June 12th, which seems like a very likely date in my opinion, right in the middle of the month, and it would be going on after Summer Game Fest and the Xbox showcase that will be happening that weekend prior, and it just seems like a perfect slot for Nintendo to go into, but they might want to create a little bit more space from the other companies' announcements and potentially go on the 19th, and the latest possible date we could see them hold would be the 26th, or I guess if they did it on a Thursday, you could say the 27th would be the latest possible date that we would have this month waiting for that Nintendo Direct presentation. I like the 12th and the 19th as the most likely options, but anything is on the table with Nintendo here, so we're just going to have to wait for that announcement one morning where it's normally their first tweet of the day where they will confirm that they're holding a presentation and what time frame and how many minutes of announcements to expect. I'm expecting it to say something like 40 minutes of announcements, primarily focused on 2024 games for the Nintendo Switch, because we only have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD on the official release roadmap, and from there we are in uncharted territory for what Nintendo might bring to us. So segueing that into some of the leaks, rumors, and speculation online flying around suggesting that some games are more likely than others to be at this event, we have to kick off this conversation with Metroid something. Now, I am very much in the mindset that we will see Metroid at this event in some capacity. The question is, what will we see? Will we see the first gameplay trailer and look at Metroid Prime 4? I could also see that, if it is here, could be a show closer for this event. They might try to really hype up Metroid Prime 4, give it a good marketing push, but something that has to come out before Prime 4, and I do think Nintendo will do this, is Metroid Prime 2 and 3. These are more likely, in my opinion, to show up at this Direct as a shadow drop game, maybe just right in the middle of the presentation. And the outstanding rumor is, according to Jeff Grubb, and I believe Nate the Hate chiming in at some point, is that they will not be getting the same level of a remaster treatment that we saw with Prime 1, which, if that is the case, I am very much expecting these to drop in a similar form to Pikmin 1 and 2 HD, where Nintendo up-resed those classic GameCube games, but they are largely still the same GameCube game with just native widescreen support, some quality of life enhancements, and up-res textures. I think that's what we're going to more be able to expect for Prime 2 and 3, and that also leads me to believe that they might be dropped in a combo pack similar to Pikmin 1 and 2. Here's the easy way to play them. They don't get the same level of attention and treatment as Prime 1 Remastered got, and we just get that as the surprise shadow drop game, which, if you do look at the history of Nintendo Directs recently, we've had a first-party Nintendo published title actually shadow drop at all of their most recent mainline Directs, so I don't think they're going to break that trend here, and I think that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 is a pretty safe bet, and Prime 4 is the one that's more of a coin toss on whether or not they're going to continue to make us wait to see that game, or if it shows up here. Now, one game that you could consider it actually being leaked ahead of time that will show up at this event, because it's a direct claim from Midori, who is literally a Pyoro tier leaker, which we're going to talk about Pyoro 2 in a minute. When they start leaking stuff, it's legitimately spoilers for the Direct, so when we talk about those, I'll make sure to outline it correctly. But Midori has said that Dragon Quest 1 through 3, which is we saw this game a while back and it was only going to be Dragon Quest 3. Apparently now it's going to be 1 through 3 2D HD. It's going to be here because Midori has made that exact claim online, saying that it will just show up at this presentation. So expect to see it here. We'll probably get a release date. It could be a shadow drop release date. I don't necessarily expect it to be, but it very well could be, and it will be at this event, and I'm fully expecting to see it here because, again, Midori just does not miss with leaks so far. There is a code name at Nintendo with the name of Banquet, and a lot of people were originally expecting this to maybe be a Kirby game because it sounds food related, but if you look at the code name for Super Mario Party that did launch on the Nintendo Switch, that was codenamed Buffet. It has also been revealed that the studio developing Banquet is indeed the same studio that develops the Mario Party games, and if you look at the gap between Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars, it's 3 years apart, and we would fall right into that time cycle again, where if they release the game this October, it's been another full 3 years. So I do think we learn about a new Mario Party game here, and I think it's likely one that does release this same calendar year, and that's exciting for me. I'm ready for a new Mario Party. I wanted Superstars DLC. We didn't get any, so this will be a nice addition if we do get a new Mario Party game confirmed. It's recently also been revealed from Midori that there is a game in development with the codename Anna, and the codename Elsa was related to Nintendo Switch Sports. So is Nintendo doing something with Nintendo Switch Sports again? It's very possible, Anna and Elsa being tied together because of the Frozen characters, and it's a reference to the Disney thing. Anyway, you get the idea. Nintendo might be doing some kind of small spin-off sports title again, just like Nintendo Switch Sports, or since this is a code name of a game in development, it doesn't mean it has to be at this direct, and maybe Nintendo's actually going to launch their next gen console with some kind of Nintendo Switch 2 sports game. So that's in the realm of possibility as well. It is an outstanding leak, so I wanted to mention it here, but we may or may not see something related to Nintendo Switch Sports at this event. On the sports front as well, it's not necessarily tied into any leaks or rumors, but it also seems likely that Nintendo may release another Mario sports game, and that could be in the form of like baseball, most likely. I think we may see Mario pick up the bat in the Nintendo Switch's life cycle, and that is also a coin toss game that could show up. There's a lot of different reports floating around online, some renewing old leaks and rumors, other ones just brand new code names that are being dropped, but the likelihood of something Legend of Zelda being at the showcase is very likely, in my opinion. We know historically Nintendo likes to release one new Zelda game per calendar year in the Nintendo Switch's life cycle, 2022 being the only exception to that rule, and I think that we get back on schedule this year in 2024, and in a year where Nintendo needs to pad out the rest of their release schedule, it makes all the sense in the world to have something Zelda on the shelf during the fall and holiday season later on this year. And we also just had the confirmation of the Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild Lego set, which has the Great Deku Tree, both versions being included in that. It's way too pricey for me to pick it up, but I would love to have it for my collection. We'll see if I get it one day. Anyway, I don't think we're going to see something Ocarina of Time here, as much as I would love to be wrong about that. I think one day Nintendo will remake Ocarina of Time from the ground up for next gen hardware, and it will look visually incredible. But it is interesting that Lego will be launching something that references Ocarina of Time that we haven't seen Nintendo really acknowledge since the 3DS port. So something Zelda could be being hinted at from the Lego company, but I'm also expecting that to come further down the line. Now, the other projects that we can talk about here is we do know for certain that there is a project by the name of Edward. That is a code name that is likely related to The Legend of Zelda, because Richard is actually the codename for Link's Awakening, leading many to speculate that this might be a new 2D Zelda game or another remaster of a classic 2D Zelda from back in the day, because if you look at all the codenames for Zelda games over the course of history, they are all royalty related in some way, shape, or form, like U-King being the Breath of the Wild name, Joker being Majora's Mask, and a bunch of other. If you put it in the royalty family, it's probably related to The Legend of Zelda, and it could be time to show something like this. It also might not be. I would also like to point out there was that Papa Genos rumor floating around that maybe there's a playable Zelda and her being the main protagonist in a game. He came out and released a Nintendo Direct predictions video, and honestly, not the biggest fan of how that information was put out there, just because he was very much presenting himself like he was leaking something that he had inside knowledge on whenever he was tweeting about it. But then in the video, he makes it very clear that it's all predictions, informed predictions and speculation based off information, he's heard and things, but it's not claiming to be a leak at all. So I'm very much setting my expectations lower on Zelda Zelda being the main playable character, but something Zelda it is time for that. And 2D, 3D, whatever it is, I do think that they will do something in the way of a new Zelda game at this presentation, and that's up to you guys and what you want to see. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you want Minish Cap remake, Oracle Games remake, or do you want something entirely new, potentially? Maybe a Link to the Past or a Link Between Worlds ported over from the 3DS. Like, all of those are definitely possibilities for this Edward codename as well. Then we also see Midori reference a very old story leak and rumor, and basically insinuated that Twilight Princess is sitting somewhere done on a shelf and they don't know why Nintendo hasn't released it yet. This exactly lines up with names like Jeff Grubb and Andy Robinson, who are all saying like these Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are coming to Switch. We don't know when, but they will be out. Andy Robinson thought it would be in 2021, then he backtracked that, say don't try to time Nintendo. We have all these different reports where Nintendo just sits on games finished for years and years before releasing them sometimes, and that might be what's going on with this. Now, if they show up at this event or not is the coin toss conversation, because you might see them this year. You might also see Nintendo actually save these games for something like releases for the existing Nintendo Switch when we have the Switch 2. Like, I don't think they're going to necessarily be saved for a Switch 2 release, but I could see Nintendo supporting the Switch 1, continuing to trickle out new games here and there, and their older ports and remasters like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, even after we're already playing on Nintendo's next-gen console. So whether these games come over in 2024 finally, or if we have to wait till 2025, that remains to be seen. But I do think that these are real projects with all of the credible names talking about them and just insinuating that they're done waiting for Nintendo to release them somewhere. I think we're going to see these show up sooner or later. The question remains, though, on if it will be at this event or not. There is a long outstanding rumor or leak suggesting that something Fire Emblem, like a Fire Emblem remake of some sort, will be revealed. I do think that that is a likely time frame to see this project finally come to light. So maybe Fire Emblem fans, you get something at this Nintendo Direct. And I want to lastly talk about just some prediction titles that may or may not be here. I mean, we've seen them kind of rumored over the course of time, but not necessarily anything concrete that we have like the last leaks that we talked about, but ports and remasters that are likely in the conversation that could be surprise games that show up at this showcase. F-Zero GX. I think it's time for F-Zero to have some kind of return outside of the 99 that we saw them do, which kind of felt like Nintendo testing the waters a little bit with F-Zero fans, just going way back in the day from like the SNES style visuals. But I think it's time to port over F-Zero GX and give that a fair shot on the Switch. And we did have rumors suggesting that might be a thing that was happening. And then when F-Zero 99 came out, it kind of wasn't clear if that was maybe the reason for those rumors. But anyway, maybe it's time for that finally. Kid Icarus Uprising is another one that's been talked about online that could be coming to Nintendo Switch, just due to the fact that, well, one, Sakurai has teased it multiple times, acting like, you know, he really wants somebody to port it, and he looks directly at the camera, kind of insinuating he might be working on that, or he knows that something's going on with that. So hopefully we get that game ported over as well. And from there are so many different games we could dive into that are in the realm of possibility, but that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. What games are you most hyped for at the June Nintendo Direct that we know to be taking place this month? What would you like to see at the showcase? What's going to put it over the top for you personally? And what out of the games that I discussed do you think will be there, and which ones do you think probably won't show up? So thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. Make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.